Well, one of the things that we've had at SolidWorks World, actually since the second SolidWorks World in New Orleans, is the Model Mania contest. This is something that users and resellers get really excited about because you get to test your skills against your peers and really see how good you are, how you actually stack up. To talk a little bit about Model Mania and this year's winners, please join me in welcoming the pride of Cincinnati, the tallest man in CAD/CAM, Mark Schneider.
Thanks. So thanks Fielder. As Fielder mentioned, this is our 13th year of doing the Model Mania presentation at SolidWorks World. The very first one we did was in 2000, and you can see some of the models that we've done over the years, you know, varying degrees of difficulty that we have asked people to sit down and model these parts. It's not really all that difficult. For Model Mania 2012, this is the part that we chose for them to create. You can see some of the information on the left, or the drawing on the left is the drawing that we ask you to create first. So we ask you to model a part. Once you're done modeling the part, we ask you to make a change to that part and run a little bit of simulation on that part. So once you complete the challenge and you get a perfect part, you win some really fabulous prizes. So I'd like to thank our sponsor, NVIDIA, for providing some really great graphics cards for our prizes. So a big round of applause for NVIDIA. What I'm going to do this year is I'm going to announce the winners. I'm going to ask you to come up on stage so you can get your due recognition. Once we get everybody up on stage, I'll actually narrate and walk through a way to create the part so that you have a good understanding of how it could be created. So let's start with our customers first. Our third place winner is Nick Van Wert from Coima Company. Come on up, Nick. Our second place winner is Paul Keska from CADvantage. Paul, come on up. And the first place winner is Neil Custard from SolidWorksTips.com with a time of 10 minutes and 3 seconds. Come on up, Neil. So we split it out. We have our resellers compete against resellers and customers compete against customers. So let's announce our reseller champions. Third place winner is Gordon Stewart from TMS CADCentre in Scotland. Come on up, Gordon. Second place winner is Scott High from 3D Vision Technologies. Scott, come on up. And the first place winner is Mike Spence from Go Engineer. Mike had the fastest time, 9 minutes, 30 seconds, which my times are, you guys are getting really good at this, and I had a lot of times. I actually had 31 parts that were perfect, what I consider perfect. Everything was exactly right. All I had to do was grade based on times, which makes it easy for me. I also had over 200 contestants that actually came this year. One thing I'll give you a little tip here, come on Sunday night, come on Monday morning, because it's not as crowded. Everybody comes on Tuesday and there's a big long line waiting to sit down and do it. And I had to turn some people away, and I hate to do that. So now that we got our rock stars up here, they're still working their way up here, I'll actually walk through a way that you can model this part. This is phase one part. There's really two views that are important there. You have the front view on the lower left there and the top view up there. The biggest challenge was creating that initial sketch, and we all know that creating a good solid sketch is a great foundation inside of SolidWorks. So we'll go ahead and start our sketch. I like to use mouse gestures a lot. Draw out two circles here. I'm just going to control select these, or window select these, and make a copy. The reason I do that is it allows me to, when I define my sketch, I know that those two are going to be equal, especially when I use fully defined sketch, which I just did there. So I did fully defined sketch early. Remember, you can use fully defined sketch more than once inside of your design. We'll add the dimensions to line that up. And the reason I did that is you get a lot of arcs and all kinds of things going on, tangencies built up. What can happen next is you get your sketch all twisted up, and you know, you guys probably have seen some of those things happen in yours. I looked in on people as they were doing it, and you can see twisted up sketches trying to work that out. So start simple, build from there. So we'll create a line at the top. I'm going to transition that arc down to the lower left, pick up a coincident relationship, add tangency, 2 more arcs, add some additional tangency as well. And since we can, we'll go ahead and fully define sketch. It saves me some steps in adding those dimensions. It does it automatically for me. All I got to do is change the dimensions. So there's the basic sketch that we used, and I didn't trim up any of my geometry. I'm a big fan of using SolidWorks contours. They're very powerful, very useful. We'll go ahead and extrude that. We're going to extrude it about the midplane, leveraging those 4 contours there. And it's going to be 24 millimeters in depth. There's the first feature, and really that's a lot of the big shape of the thing and what most people struggled with. Next, we're going to add those scallops that go on the left side of the part. Just draw a line, transition to an arc, capture our relationships as we sketch. Since I still have the line command on my mouse, I'm going to go ahead and draw another line, and we'll change that to a construction geometry. Add some dimensions. It's going to be 65. 8 millimeter depth for that pocket on the left, and then we'll add a 20 millimeter dimension for the radius. Mirror everything to the other side, and we'll create a through-all cut. And that cuts away that top portion there. Same face up there, we'll go ahead and create another sketch, and we'll cut that pocket in the back. Just going to use a center point rectangle, pick up my tangency to the silhouette edge on the right, add some dimensions. You can add your symmetry relations in there as well. The drawing called for dimensioning from the edge, so I just did it that way. I'm also dimensioning that end of the left end of that rectangle from the center of the circle there. A couple people mixed that up. Since my origin is there, I go ahead and choose the origin to dimension from. Filleting is easy on this one this year. You know, choose a couple faces and edge, that inside edge for the pocket, and there you have it. There's all your fillets, all done with just the single fillet command. Last thing we're going to do is add material. A little tip for everybody, I always have the material that's defined in your right-click favorites. So it's there, you don't have to go into the material dialog and hunt and peck for the right material. And that's the first part, that's phase 1. Create that part fairly quickly. Phase 2, we ask you to make some changes. So on the arm on the left, in the front view there, you can see there's a blue dimension that's 12. That was a big miss for a lot of people. They didn't change the 14, it was 14 millimeters, it becomes 12. Because it's dimensioned that way, we also know that there is a horizontal line on the bottom, which wasn't there in the past, and there's right next to that 12 millimeter dimension, there's an R9. That's an additional boss that needs to get added. And I'll show you that as we go through this video, I'll show you the next most common mistake that people made. So the first thing we need to do is redefine that sketch. I'm just going to use the trim command and trim back that arc. Change the value from 50 to 30. My sketch goes over to fine. What do? Sketch Expert's a great tool for getting me out of these pickles. I get visual feedback for which one's going to work. It happens to be that the tangency to the left side is what was causing the problem. So we just delete that relationship. We're good to go. Attach our sketch, add a tangent relationship, make a change to that dimension. You don't need to add this dimension as a vertical dimension like that. You could have just changed the radius, it would have worked. But that's 12 millimeters. That was the next big mistake. The side pockets get changed from 65 to 85 millimeters. It looks a little ugly. We'll change that back pocket down to 18 millimeters. And now we have a good part. But our fillets haven't run. Our fillets aren't running here. We also remember we had to add that boss. So I'm leveraging the first sketch I created, the contours in that first sketch. I don't have to reuse that sketch to do that. Once I reorder my fillets, everything works fine. Now look what's going to happen right here. See that boss in there? Too many people miss that. A little simple fix there, just so the reorder, and you have your part exactly as it should be. So that's the modeling of phase 2. Then we ask you to do a little simulation on phase 2. Very simple stuff here. Add a fixture. We're going to hold those 3 circles down to apply a fixity to those circles. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a force to the top face, 500 newtons. We've already applied our material, so we don't need to go through that. We'll just hit run. SolidWorks, with the fastest solver in the industry, gives us our results, asks us if it behaves as we expect it to, and yes, it does. And our factor of safety is 2.4, something in there. That was the exact factor of safety. And you can see a stress contour plot on the screen in an animation, some really good stuff. So that's what all these guys did, and 31 other people that were able to get perfect parts were able to nail that and inside of the 20 minutes. So that's that's our Model Mania for 2012. Let's give a big round of applause for all these guys up here. Great job, guys. I got your email, so I'm going to email you for shipping information, and we'll ship you your prizes. Great job, man. Great job. Great job.